coming straight from the cockpit. It's another episode of Lunatic Fringe with the fucking pilot.
Ready, set, go. All right, we got another episode of the Lunatic Fringe Into the Void with the fucking pilot. And once again, I have another victim in the can this time, no Skype. So who the fuck are you and what do you do?
My name is Erik Von Kennel, a.k.a. Captain Volcano, a.k.a. EVK, or Papa Bear.
Jesus.
Most recently.
Fucking hell, you answered all that?
I answered other things too, depending on who you are.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Well, I've worked with and met Captain Von Kennel. I've certainly met Volcano, although only once or twice.
Lucky you.
Which were pretty interesting times.
Not to be talked about.
We got all the aliases now. What is it? What is it you do?
Yeah, I'm an aviator.
An aviator. Oh, fuck! I like that.
Official?
I think I just got kind of a semi right there. That turned me on a little bit.
That's great. This is a small bathroom.
Yeah, you're an aviator. Okay, cool.
Yeah. Nah, I'm a pilot.
You're a pilot.
Specifically now, a jump pilot. But I kind of worked my way up through some different avenues to get to this point.
Nice.
And, loving life.
So, jump pilot. I started out and kind of almost went directly into being a jump pilot, but you did not. How did your aviation career start? Well, I mean, let's go all the way back to the beginning. When did you decide you wanted to fly?
I guess I was influenced from a young age. I don't know that there was ever a specific time where I just decided this is it and this is what I'm going to do. But growing up as a kid, some things I remember are like the closing scene of the intro to Indiana Jones and Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yeah, man.
So Indiana Jones running through the field yelling, "Jack, start the plane."
Why is there a snake? Yeah, exactly. I remember that shit.
And running and jumping into that seaplane and flying off. And there was another show when I was fairly young called Tales of the Golden Monkey.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever heard of that.
I remember that.
And it's a similar Indiana Jones story, but the lead character is a seaplane pilot, and he's flying a Grumman goose all through the South Pacific. And
I remember that.
And then growing older, just listening to Jimmy Buffett, I guess, and all that added up to me taking advantage of an aviation program at the University of Oklahoma. So I was there getting a college degree.
Okay.
Had an opportunity, got my pilot's license, and started moving from there.
Nice. Now, so you knew pretty young. I mean, I got my pilot's license when I was 16, but I was an idiot, and I didn't really do anything with it until much, much later. But you decided and then went straight to it. But you also aimed yourself towards a specific niche in flying too.
Yeah.
Almost right away.
Yeah. I think more or less I went straight to it. It took a few years actually after college and tried to make my business degree work for me.
Right.
And realized really quick that it would be a lot better to be a pilot than try to be a businessman.
Yeah.
And so then I went running back out to flight school and did that in Oklahoma as well. And man, really, really enjoyed it.
How'd you end up deciding that you wanted to do the seaplane thing though?
Well, I was on a long cross country flight and was in a little FBO down in Louisiana in Shreveport, and they had a magazine on the counter, and it had little J3 Cubs on floats, so little single engine planes on floats on the cover of this magazine. I picked up and read the article while they were refueling the plane, and it was for a place called Jack Brown's Seaplane Base.
It's a pretty famous place.
Absolutely. They probably train more seaplane pilots than anybody in the world. But anyways, so when I saw that, all the influences that had kind of built up as a child just came rushing forward, and I was like, I got to do this.
Awesome.
And
the stars aligned, so to speak.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome, and I knew immediately that's what I wanted to go do. And I went down there and got both my single and my multi-engine rating in the same week, and asked the owner and the boss, John Brown, if I could have a job. He was like, "Well, you got to finish the course first,
right.
but
pass the test.
We'll talk after." And I did, and he he offered me a job.
Awesome. So you ended up working at Jack Brown's after having just flipped through the magazine.
Yeah,
Well,
and so that's the start of the seaplane career, and did some instructing there for a little while.
Well, and they actually, it was kind of funny because I first Jack Brown's I heard about for the first time through you and through one other friend for completely different reasons. You, I heard about Jack Brown's because of exactly that. You had found this desire to go fly seaplanes. The other pilot I found out about Jack Brown's, who went there more than anything because she just wanted to slide across the seats of the airplane that Johnny Depp had flown in the Rum Diaries.
Yeah, I know that plane. I've flown it.
Yeah, there you go. Hi, CJ. That was her whole motivation. Actually, I'm talking out of my ass, but it sounds
That
good.
was your,
But she absolutely told me that story. Yeah. So you end up flying for Jack Brown's.
Yeah, actually, that was a lot of fun. I mean, there's lots of different ways to get into being a pilot. We both ended up at the same place as jump pilots, but came at it from kind of drastically different directions.
Sure.
Mine was more of a typical path where you go to school, you get your private, you figure out that's what you want to do, and you continue through to get your commercial license, and then become an instructor. And that's immensely rewarding. I think anybody who chooses to be an instructor, and you got to teach it to truly learn it. And
yeah, I'm sure you're the same as me. When you start to teach something, you have to break down the process in a way that you wouldn't otherwise do.
Right.
And it becomes not just a learning experience for the student, but even for the instructor. I mean, I've learned more teaching other people than I ever did being taught.
Yeah, like how many different ways people want to kill you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, and you had a bunch of cool, fun experiences flying for them. I mean,
Absolutely. No, it was awesome. It was a really fun way to build hours doing something that I was really passionate about. And fortunately, teaching at Brown's is a bit different than a typical flight instructor, because getting a seaplane rating is just an add-on rating to your existing license.
So you're teaching a pilot.
Exactly. So theoretically, they already know how to fly a plane. I met a few that I told them to go take up golf.
Right,
but
right.
So for a lot of people that are coming to get this rating, it's more or less a cocktail rating.
Sure.
Is what I call it, because they just like to go brag about it to their pilot buddies at the bar.
Yeah.
But some people make a profession out of it, and that was my intent while I was there. But it was a lot of fun. I mean, we're hopping on lakes from 500 feet just all through Winter Haven, Florida. And in that county in Florida, there's 954 lakes. And
a few landing strips for
yeah,
you.
quite a few.
Yeah.
And Winter Haven's known as the Chain of Lakes. And it's because the engineers linked all of these sinkhole type lakes by canal, and so you can actually take a boat all through the town, and there's a lot of bars and restaurants that are shoreside,
Sure.
or dockside, if you will. And I actually had a girlfriend while I was there, and she worked at one of these places. And one of my coolest memories, other than not trying to kill myself every day
Right.
with these people, but was actually flying her to work one day, dropping her off in the seaplane at the beach outside of her restaurant, and then coming back that night to pick her up after her shift on the Harley.
So that's kind of a pimp date.
That was kind of like, I felt pretty badass that day, I gotta say,
See,
honestly.
mine wasn't like that, man. The one and only flying date that I ever had, she climbed into the airplane with me at the airport at Cross Keys where I was jumping. Took her flying. She vomited profusely all over the inside of the cockpit within 15 minutes of the flight. We ended up landing in Cape May, where she laid spread eagle on the tarmac for 2 hours, covered in vomit, and wouldn't let me move her until I finally convinced her that the sun was going down. I was a very new pilot, and we had to fucking go.
You scared her back into the plane.
Yeah, basically, I'm like, trust me, as bad as that was with the sun up, you don't want this to happen at night. We need to fucking go.
Were you that bad of a pilot?
No, no.
She's just that bad of a passenger.
I don't think I was that bad, but I mean, it was a smooth day. But yeah, no. So
that's not the way you want it to
I've
go.
not had too many flying dates.
No,
per se.
No, that's a rare thing anyway. Generally.
Yeah. So you got to do
that. Was okay. So that was kind of a highlight moment. That was kind of
Sure.
like, okay, I'm pretty cool moment. And
you got a low moment?
I absolutely have a low moment there, and just told this story recently to a friend. That's why it's kind of on my mind. But, scars are just tattoos with better stories. And I'm pretty fortunate that the few good scars I've got all have pretty good stories.
Nice.
And the one I've got here on my arm is from my lowest day at Brown's. And it was the day after my birthday. I just turned 30 and was flying this girl around on what we call a demo flight, just like, showing off the town and enjoying a seaplane ride. And we came back to the lake to land, and I was showing off a little bit. I was like popping it on one float and then popping it out of the water, putting it on the other float, all keeping it straight and just high-speed taxiing across the lake. Well, it's not that big of a lake. And these things don't have brakes. And so I pulled the power a little late, and we just kind of went right up into the reeds next to the seaplane base.
Oh, no.
But not on the correct side of the seaplane base. And obviously you can't back up a seaplane.
No.
Well,
not that one.
Not a Cub anyway. And I was just like, damn, I feel like such an idiot right now. So meanwhile, the young kid, Matt at the time, who was standing on the dock waiting to tie up the airplane, is like standing at the end of the ramp, like looking around these reeds at me like,
what the fuck?
Like
What
just
the
with
fuck?
his arms up in the air, like what the, I'm just ashamed. I realized I got to hop in and push the plane out of the reeds. So I hop in the water, and it's about chest deep. I thought it was a little more shallow. It was about chest deep. So here I am, like trying to push this plane out of the reeds, and I start hearing this kind of sound. And I don't know if you've ever heard a baby alligator.
No.
But that's the sound they make.
Okay.
And this was August 10th, and I'm hearing this going, yeah, that's
Mom's somewhere.
That's a nest of gators right behind me. So I'm really trying to get this plane pushed back, and I hear this into the water, and I'm just like, oh shit. Like, I know exactly what that sound was. That was Allie, which was a 6 to 7 foot alligator that used to sun herself on the ramps of the seaplane base. And I'm like, these are her babies. That's a 7 foot gator.
And this is how I die.
And so I just launched myself up onto the float and proceeded to lose my balance.
Awesome.
And rather than falling back out of the water or out of the off the float into the water and be absolute gator bait, I'm just going to grab anything I can. And it happened to be the engine cowling, and the exhaust stack comes out the side, and
you got a nice little
that was
tattoo
the sizzle,
for it.
because I had been in the water, so I jump out and it's just
awesome.
And yeah, it melted my arm pretty well.
Awesome.
But it better that than
I
being
couldn't
attacked
agree
by a
with you more.
gator. And the gators were attacking people down there. There's a guy that lived, I think it was on Lake Alfred or something, but he used to get up in the morning and go swimming in his lake every day. And it's a fairly large lake. But I don't care. You don't do that.
No.
And
he got eaten.
He got his arm ripped off by a gator.
Yeah, no.
So,
of all the different ways for a pilot to go out, being eaten by a gator is not one you would expect.
Absolutely not.
Make a good story.
But it was all my fault.
So highs and lows working for Jack Brown's, but it was the dream job at the time. But you ended up transitioning, and not too far down the road from there is where you and I eventually our paths crossed.
Yeah. I got the heads up through another seaplane guy, which I think in aviation, every time you do something that's a little bit more
niche.
Yeah, that's probably a decent way to put it. The community, the brotherhood gets smaller and smaller, and it's like, it's not what you know, it's who you know, and that's how you progress in the industry sometimes. And certainly the seaplane brotherhood is a small one. And just through working at Brown's, I made connection to a former instructor there who was flying down in the Caribbean, and got me an interview, and I went down and got the job, and immediately transitioned from being a seaplane instructor to being a seaplane airline pilot.
Nice.
Essentially.
But in what is absolutely my favorite aircraft on the planet, which is the de Havilland Twin Otter.
Absolutely.
And again, you and I came at it at drastically different angles, because you ended up in the float plane, but I ended up in it via skydiving,
Right.
having gone straight into it that route, flying the most incredible machine.
Yeah.
One that I think it's always going to be my favorite plane, but it's also very well suited for both of those. So you started flying in the seaplane, and did quite a lot of flying that way.
Yeah, so we're talking about the de Havilland Twin Otter, and it's a major bush plane.
Yes.
And in Canada they use it extensively. The single otter, but the Twin Otter as well, and it's just an awesome plane to fly.
Yes, it is.
And especially on floats. That was so that was my introduction to the Twin Otter, was going to fly in the Caribbean for a small airline called Seabourn. And it's a 121 airline, so they operate under the same rules as like all the other airlines out there, even though they're a very small, at the time, family-owned almost business.
Sure.
And we jokingly would say that it's not a 121 airline, it's a 151 airline.
Yeah, and I'll cheers to that for sure. 151 to Seabourn. All right, there we go. That was the funny part for me, is I decided that it was time to say that I had officially scratched the itch and tried at least to make an attempt at mainstream aviation, because, if you're a pilot...
Mainstream.
Right, yeah.
Anybody who knows Seabourn knows that's not true.
Yeah. No, but I didn't know that. It was the same way
Absolutely.
I ended up...
I'm with you, man. For me, it was an airline job.
Oh, yeah, man. Same way I ended up roped into Skydive Cross Keys, because it was the busiest in the world, and it was the responsible choice until I'm off my ass in the pee pit going, how the fuck is this the responsible choice? Same thing, really. And I should have known, because my into Seabourn was a captain you know well, who was a previous jump pilot by the name of Chris Hackler.
Yeah, Hackler.
Fucking fantastic pilot. And I figured, all right, if he went this direction and he flew, did the same kind of flying as me, maybe I've got a shot. And of course, I ended up getting down there and finding out, it's kind of an airline.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's more of an airline than a guy not... I don't know how you would describe it. Look, I had good experiences down there as well. I'm not going to knock them too much, but it was a great place to be and a great place to fly. I mean, and their training was awesome.
The training was fantastic.
I really give them credit to teaching me how to fly this particular plane. Well.
Oh, yeah. I called the pilot that took my old job back in the States shortly after I'd finished the training with Seabourn and went, you know nothing, you're going to fucking die in that plane. The fact that I'm not dead is just a testament to the fact that there really is luck out there, because I knew nothing.
Or something else. But, yeah. No, I mean, you were definitely cut loose with the Otter.
25 hours.
Very early on, and
And for anybody listening that doesn't fly, I was flying a 12,500 pound with jumpers, 20 to 22 capacity aircraft with 25 hours training. That is akin to handing someone that just learned how to ride a bicycle with training wheels a fucking Ferrari. Yeah. It's about the same.
You got the ink still wet on your commercial license, and you're up there.
Oh, yeah.
Flying a twin turboprop.
When I finally got to training in Seabourn, it was a real smack in the face to realize I knew nothing about the aircraft that I was flying. And although I could fly it very well, it was the troubleshooting and the dealing with potential problems that had anything really serious come up, I wouldn't have been able to deal with it intelligently.
Yeah, you would have dealt with it fine. But...
Fuck it.
Everybody wears a rig in a jump plane, right?
Yeah.
You would have been fine. No, you're absolutely right. We came at it from different directions. I came at it from the seaplane side into the airline and then ultimately leading to where I am now as a jump pilot. You came at it from a jump pilot, or from a skydiver rather, excuse me,
Sure.
to a jump pilot, to an airline pilot, and then back to a jump pilot.
Sure. Well, now let me ask you, because you were going the more traditional route, and
Yeah.
I'd always been on the lunatic fringe, no pun intended. Totally intended. So I'd always been kind of doing things a different way, but you had done things very much the traditional way and decided to step up to the airline version of your dream. Was it a bit of a gut check when you realized, oh, this is a 151 airline? Don't get me wrong. I
No.
enjoyed my time in Seabourn, but Seabourn, it's different now than it was then. It was much more cowboy.
Yeah, I felt like I got to the party a little bit late on that one.
I definitely did.
Yeah, because you got there after I did. And I felt like this before in my career, but or I should say since. But yeah, it's like it was very cowboy and very wide open. But then, as things changed within the industry, they tried to grow, and there's probably a debate on which direction they grew in first and how things got handled and what
Right.
it ultimately changed for the airline. But it meant that the FAA started looking a lot more.
Yes, they did.
And, that's a good thing, but it made things a lot less cowboy, I think,
Sure.
is what you said.
Yeah.
And, we were flying around 500 feet over the water down there
Oh,
and
yeah.
doing kind of whatever we needed to do to get from St. Croix to St. Thomas, to San Juan. We were flying into the British Virgin Islands as well, Virgin Gorda, Tortola. And I think their routes have expanded even further since our time there. But
Well, we were the only, if I'm not mistaken, we were the only 121 airline, at least in the United States, but I think in the world, that was filing VFR flight plans.
yeah, VFR flight plans and flying float planes. I mean, being the only 121 airline, flying floats
Sure.
down there, which it's awesome.
Sure.
I just
Well,
gotta
and for
say,
those that don't
it's
know,
beautiful.
VFR means visual flight rules, which means that you have to be able to see where you're going, and all other airlines fly what's called IFR instrument. Even if you can see where you're going, you're still flying basically on a highway in the sky. And when you're flying VFR, you can go pretty much wherever the fuck you want. But the weird thing about that is we would file these VFR flight plans and then fly straight through clouds and straight through rain. And I'll never forget. And
Because we were picking up pop-ups.
yeah, that's
Pop-up
it.
IFRs.
That's it. You bet. Oh, I remember when we got one of those pop-ups, flying in the right seat. And again, I had a couple thousand hours in the left seat by then. So I'm sitting in the right seat, but I've got an extremely accomplished Caribbean captain sitting next to me. He's been flying there forever, and he's got his foot up on the panel, and he's kind of, and you know who I'm talking about.
Now I do.
And he's got he's doing a little bit of paperwork here and there, and he hasn't looked outside the window since we started flying. And I am covered in sweat, shitting myself as he's casually telling me, just aim for the light green on the radar as we're flying back to St. Croix. I've not been in weather like this ever. I mean, I have an instrument rating, obviously, but very, very little actual time. And I am shitting my pants. And I think I was maybe 3 weeks out of IOE, which is on-the-job training, basically.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
But, I mean, there were a lot of experiences like that
Absolutely.
in Seabourn, and a lot of ones that you just can't even – I mean, I know you've had some bizarre
But
experiences with the airline.
those are good experiences, though. You grew from that, and it's
indeed.
awesome. But I know exactly what you mean, where you're just like,
Oh, yeah.
So this is what IFR really is like, and
Well, it's not
it's a
even
good
being
thing I trust my instruments.
Yeah, well, it's not even being thrown into the deep end. It's being thrown into a different fucking pool.
Yeah.
You're not even in the same pool that you thought you were going to be in. Now, outside of all that stuff, I mean, for the most part, the Seabourn had well, not for the most part, they had an amazing safety record. They did everything fantastic.
Yeah.
The training was great. Obviously, we got creative with some of the stuff, but some of the shit that happened in that airline can't happen. I mean, maybe it does happen in other airlines, but stuff that I never would have thought. And I know you've had some bizarre experiences. Some of them have been with me as your first officer.
Yeah, with passenger. You mean with respect to passengers?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's an interesting part of the world, and the characters you get on board are equally interesting. And you're going between Puerto Rico and the U.S. Virgin Islands, and people are traveling for lots of different reasons. I mean, we were transporting prisoners between St. Croix and St. Thomas because St. Croix is where the prison is, but St. Thomas is where the courts are. So
Right.
when criminals have to travel up to court, they would get on our planes, and they would be fully shackled, sometimes 2 and 3 of them on board with armed police officers. So, when those people rock up to your plane, it's like, well, this might be an interesting flight.
Yep.
It certainly just got more interesting for all the passengers that were sitting here waiting to board before they knew this guy or
Right.
guys were getting on the plane, and they've got to board first so they can get the prisoners secure. But then here you go, popping on a Twin Otter, with 15 seats on the seaplane, or, 20 on the wheel plane. And now you're sitting right in front of
Right.
this crew. I mean, I don't know.
Well,
But,
and especially when you'd have either just the flight before or the flight after, you've got a full-blown hardcore Rasta guy that's clearly holding.
right, like the flight before.
Yeah, the
like
flight
you guys
before.
walked past all these armed officers, and
You're
like, how did they
literally-
not smell you?
Yeah,
'Cause-
you're literally transporting large amounts of marijuana.
Well, it makes you ask the question, like, am I knowingly trafficking drugs right
Sure.
now? Because you get that smell and you just kind of know. But what do? You say it's definitely you, and I have the authority to deplane everybody and start this. I mean, careful you going down that route.
Well, and we'll touch briefly on the only real experience I had with that, and it just happened to be with you. And I don't remember why it ended up coming to a head the way that it did.
Oh, but it did, didn't it?
But we ended up, I mean, there was quite the hullabaloo with cops everywhere, and it was clearly over weed. But most of the time you'd turn a blind eye because you'd tell yourself, well, A, you can't prove who's got it.
Right.
B, I personally think the shit should be legal anyway. All these different reasons, but why was it that one guy? Why did we have to have him thrown off the plane? I forget what he did.
It wasn't even just that one guy though, man. Like, I remember multiple times people were just doing ridiculous stuff, like trying to climb out the cockpit door after I shut the plane down before I could get the air stairs up. This is at the airport, not at the seaplane base this day. And he says he has to pee so bad that he's trying to climb through the cockpit to get out of the plane, to run across the ramp of an airport. Like, I'm like, what are you doing, man?
Yep.
But I've had that on the seaplane too.
Sure.
Look, it's 15 to 20 minutes, depending, between St. Croix and St. Thomas. And both of these stories, for me, this guy climbing through the cockpit and this guy walking to the back of the airplane to relieve himself, each happened between St. Croix and St. Thomas.
Yep.
And it was on the seaplane that I turned around after landing in St. Thomas, turning around after successfully docking the plane and welcoming everyone to St. Thomas. And I see this dude in the back of the plane, and he's pulling down his sweatpants in the back corner. And I'm like, sir, what are you doing? And he like turns around and he's got his hand down his pants like he was literally about to pull it out and pee in the back of my plane. And we are at the dock on the other side. Like, my
awesome?
God, man.
Now, the funny thing
He
is,
almost got beat up by one of our dock workers. And that guy worked for the Port Authority also right next door. And when I yelled out the window what was going on, the door of the plane flung open and this guy got yanked off the plane and yelled at, and he almost got thrown in the water. I
don't doubt it. Although the trump to that story is, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it was captain that we talked about previously, briefly, CJ, was on short final actually turning final over Frederiksted, flying into St. Croix in the airport. And if you've never been there, the distance it's less than 5 minutes from the time that you cross over the island to the time that you're landing. And a woman in the back of the airplane, as they're announcing that they're getting ready to land, has told the crew. Now, mind you, there's no cockpit door in between the cabin and the cockpit of Twin Otter. And
which is cool because you can look back and see the fear in your passenger's eyes.
Oh, yeah. There's no flight attendants either. So this passenger is yelling up to the crew that she's got to go to the bathroom. And they've told her multiple times that she's got to pee, and they say multiple times, we're almost there.
Yeah,
We're almost there. But on short final, literally on short final, less than 2 minutes from touchdown, this woman stands up, gets out of her seat, stands up, squats down next to her seat. Now, mind you, which way is the plane aiming when you're landing? Squats down and relieves herself on the floor of the Twin Otter on short final into St. Croix.
Yeah.
With just a river of piss running up to the cockpit, where
I'd
the
be
two,
so pissed.
where the two, the two pilots can't do anything but land the plane as
Right.
the piss is puddling in the ship's library.
Oh my gosh.
Right? Welcome to the airlines. Are you kidding?
Right. Are you kidding? Yeah. No, just bizarre stuff went on down there for sure. But there was, I mean, somehow we got on a tangent about how people can't have small bladders in the islands
Because
or
it's
whatever.
fucking
but,
funny. Well, and it's because they drink too much.
Yeah, well,
you know,
cheers
and
to
that shit happens for sure.
I'm glad I quit.
Yeah, hang on. So we had funny experiences, we had bizarre experiences,
And we had good experiences.
we had really, really good experiences, but we also had one experience that ultimately led me to scout you out to become a jump pilot.
a jump pilot.
A jump pilot, yeah.
Been there before.
A chump, yeah. Because I knew you'd make a good jump pilot specifically because of this instance. You had a fucking scary experience on a float plane. And again, this
on
is
any plane, but yeah, I happened to be on the float plane that day.
and this
yeah.
is Seaborne Airlines. You are flying paying customers from St. Thomas back to St. Croix, and it was not good.
Yeah, no, I mean, it turned out in the end to be great, but yeah, just a typical seaplane flight, St. Croix to St. Thomas to St. Croix, excuse me, and it's about midway through our day, so we had already been, flying quite a bit, and taking off out of St. Thomas, you've got a relatively limited options as far as the harbor goes, and behind you, you've got the seawall. To the left of you, you've got the mooring field with all the boats, typically sailboats with 30 to 50 foot masts. To your right hand side is what's called Hassel Island, which is a small island there, and right in front of you is a cruise ship dock. So you can't really go left too far. You can't go right, and the cruise ship dock is there. And this day it had 2 cruise ships, and so you can't just barge straight forward. You got to back up right to the edge of the seawall,
Right.
and kind of give her all she's got. And that's what we did. We had a left to right crosswind that day, so the water was a little bit choppy and made the takeoff, I wouldn't say challenging, but it wasn't just a straight,
Sure.
push the power and go.
Yeah, you're working for it.
Yeah, there's a little work to do. So, yeah, we run through all the pre-takeoff checks, and my first officer and I push the power up and normal takeoff. We get airborne. We stay just above the water, skimming the water to reduce drag,
Right.
pick up some airspeed.
Sure.
And then we pitch up to climb. And at this point, we need to turn to the right because of the cruise ship that's closing in.
Don't hit the big
and the
boat.
mountain behind it. So you turn right, you turn south to get out of the harbor in St. Thomas, and I was the one flying that leg, attempted to do that. And so going from a left to right crosswind, you've got the wheel essentially of the airplane turned all the way left, 90
Sure.
degrees left, to hold that wing down. But if you want to turn right, you're going to roll the controls the other way, and
Sure.
you're going to turn the wheel to the right. And I did that, and I went all the way to the right, and the plane kept flying straight ahead and didn't do anything.
So you
So the
turn
left wing is low, flying straight at a cruise ship and a mountain, and I can't turn to the right.
So you turn the control.
and you can't turn left because that's where St. Thomas is. It gets even taller to the left.
And
so
just a couple of points. If you've never been to St. Thomas, they're not hills; they're fucking mountains. They are really tall. They go up a couple thousand feet. So it's not like you can just hop up over them.
yeah, they're not a couple thousand, but they're. I mean,
Well, the tallest peak's up a couple thousand, isn't it?
I don't think so.
They're fucking big.
They are big.
They're maybe
They're bigger than the biggest cruise ship stood on its tail. So,
Yeah,
but whatever.
yeah. So those are big as well, but definitely a big damn deal.
Yeah, for sure. So we're flying right towards the mountain at this point. We've climbed enough to clear the cruise ship, but the plane's not turning to the right. So, full right controls. I push down on the right rudder pedal as hard as I can. That turns the nose a little bit, and then use some aileron trim that helped, and then my co-pilot and I did a little bit of asymmetric thrust, which means we just pulled the power back on the right engine, and we left the left engine full power, and that turned the nose of the airplane a little bit more, brought the left wing up a little bit more, and now that crosswind was able to get under the wing.
So now you're not going to hit the big boat.
Exactly. Not going to hit the boat, not going to hit the mountain. It lets the airplane turn out of harm's way. And we're still climbing, but something is definitely wrong here, and this isn't something in the books that you're trained for. So you're just running through in your head like, okay, what's going on here? I have to problem solve. Now I knew what the airplane wasn't doing. It wasn't turning to the right, but I needed to see how quickly it wanted to go to the left. So very slowly I kind of started turning the wheel back to the left, and immediately the wing tried to dip. And I was able to correct it. But that's all it took for me to know, okay, there's absolutely no way we're going that way. If we do, we're going to roll inverted, and we're all going to go into the water head first. And
now what's going on in the back of the plane at this point? Are people screaming?
No, because it was under control. It was very smooth. It was a normal takeoff. We just didn't turn right as early as probably everyone expected.
Sure.
And so we turn out to the right eventually, and we continue the climb. And Ryan, my co-pilot, and I knew immediately that we're declaring an emergency here. We got some major flight control issues. We don't know what, but we need to report this, and we're coming back to St. Thomas to land.
Well, and that's a hard thing to do, to get yourself to key the microphone and declare an emergency. I mean, pilots but when you need to, you just know, and you're going to, unless you're an idiot. And this was one of those situations where we had 11 souls on board, and that was the only option. Sure.
And that being said, we didn't even know how good the option was, because now we have to come back and somehow land this plane that is totally cross-controlled, flying just...
you're having to basically fly it in a way you never would have thought. Meanwhile, you got 11 people in the back that are putting on life jackets because you've got to land this thing back in water.
Yeah, so that was interesting. Just declaring the emergency and having my FO turn around and tell everybody to put their life jackets on. There was a gal on the plane that was friends with one of our other pilots, and when we asked her to put her life vest on is when she started paying attention to what was going on the flight. And when she looked up in the cockpit and saw that my right leg was shaking, she knew something was up.
Sure.
And it was shaking because I had it pressed so hard, the right rudder pedal pressed so hard. If I could have pushed it through the firewall, I would have. And it just the adrenaline of the moment.
And these are some ballsy flyers, because they're having to take the seaborne planes to and from St. Thomas and St. Croix every day. So these are people that log more hours than some pilots down there. So you fly through shit weather and crazy turbulence and all that. They don't even wake up. So for her to finally start paying attention.
Yeah.
That's a big deal. So you've at least got it under control, and now you know what you've got to do. You declare an emergency. So how does it all wrap up?
Well, we were able to maintain altitude and just bring it around in basically a big, wide right-hand circle, and talk to St. Thomas Tower, which their airport is literally right there next to the mouth of the harbor that we live in, or land in, excuse me. And so we were talking with them, and they scrambled Coast Guard and Port Authority and put the emergency call out. And we just brought the airplane around and attempted to land in a different channel, in a different bay.
Now, let me ask you from non-seaplane or non-aviator point of view, why didn't you just land straight ahead? There's a whole lot of water. You're in an ocean. Why wouldn't you just? There's a bunch of blue right in front of you.
That's fair. Yeah, we're in a seaplane.
Yeah,
you're over
just
the
land
sea.
in the water,
just
right?
land. Yeah, it's a bit more complicated than that. As soon as you leave the harbor, it was a little bit choppy in the harbor, but even with the mighty Otter, you try to land that thing in a swell out into open water, and at that point also it would have been at least a crosswind, if not a downwind landing, and against the like. There's just so many things.
It's
a bad idea. You're all going to die.
Yeah. So you aim it back in, and you manage to get back into this.
So we got it all figured out as best we could. We were able to slow the plane down and even put flaps in, which helps an airplane fly more stable at a slower airspeed, and it's what you got to do with a seaplane. But unfortunately, because we were so cross-controlled and there was so much differential power that basically the nose was about 30 to 45 degrees to the right of straight ahead.
So you're looking out the side window flying straight. Yeah.
So you touch down on that first float, you're going to cartwheel. If I were able to stab the left rudder to get it straight, the left wing would have dipped and it probably would have hit the water, and you're going to cartwheel. There's so many different ways that this isn't going to work out.
Sure. And
we got it down over the water just with the hopes of, okay, this is the best shot we've got. It's the only shot we've got because there is no go around, and we were just hoping.
Sure.
Kind of at that point, because it was all we had to make the best landing we could. And Ryan looks over at me right as we're skimming the top of the water, and he's like, "We're really fast." Like, dude, we're fast. And I was like, I know. And that was the last thing we said to each other. And we got really lucky is all I can say, because this channel that we were landing into is another mooring field to the right with sailboats, and there was another cruise ship in Crown Bay this day to the left. And we just got this puff, this angel's breath that just lifted the left wing only. If it was a gust, it would have lifted the whole plane. And it was just this little angel's breath on the left wing, and it raised it up high enough that I was like, that's it. I yanked the power, I stabbed the rudder to straighten the plane, and we hit the water. And I got to say, I've made worse landings with two good engines and a fully controlled airplane than I did on that one. And I looked over at Ryan, and we gave each other a fist bump. And right then, like, Port Authority and the Coast Guard comes ripping through the cut in their boats, and we were like, oh man, they were right there, but they weren't right in the way. They were like, well, just hang back and see what happens, and then we'll come rushing in, you know.
They're probably a little bit bummed. Oh, that was normal.
But now
so what did it turn out to be?
Out. Well, basically in saltwater conditions with a metal airplane, you're going to fight corrosion. Yeah. And we flew those planes hard. And the mechanics there typically did a great job, but this was actually a pulley within the wing that is the aileron pulley.
So it basically the cable that controlled the aileron just decided
corrosion,
it wasn't going to work anymore.
It sheared, the pulley broke, the bearing in the pulley broke, and it basically fell off.
So you had no left aileron.
None. Yeah, we figured we found that out after the fact, and then I did a little bit of research to find out how many other planes successfully land if something like that happens, and I didn't find any.
There weren't any.
So unless it was something that was immediate, and they actually, I'm sure there's some out there where they were able to put it down immediately, but for us, we were already cruising, and there was no way to abort straight ahead because of the cruise ship, and we were committed fully from as soon as we were airborne.
And no way to train for something like that. I mean, both you and I have spent a fair amount of time in the sim for the Twin Otter, and there is no, hey, this is what happens when your wing isn't controllable. It's not. It just doesn't exist. Yeah. Now, it was that incident that ultimately led me to suggest you in regard to the job of jump pilot. I had decided to walk away from flying the whole airline gig. For me, as a first officer coming in when I did, the airline was short first officers and rich on captains, and so the first officers were getting beat all to shit. And just as I was being offered the upgrade to captain, when I'd finally made the upgrade to captain, they were first officer rich and captain poor. So I decided, fuck this. This is just not me. You know, I'm not making enough money. I'm flying overall.
It's not for everybody. It's really not. It's a different kind of flying, and we make jokes about the experience we had in the islands because it was an airline, but it wasn't operated like
No,
a real airline in some respects, because it just wasn't. It's a different environment altogether, and
it was also an airline that was based out of an island where a bottle of rum is cheaper than a bottle of milk.
Yes. Hence the joke, the 151 airline.
Yeah.
So
I mean, do I want milk in the morning, or should I just drink more Blackstrap? Fuck it. It really was. Yeah. Well,
for a lot of people, it was. There's a shirt down there that I never bought that I saw one time, and I wish I had it because it just encompasses it so well. And it says, "We're all here because we're not all there."
That's pretty much it.
And that's the islands, man. You're either down there chasing something or running from something.
Yeah.
And certainly I was chasing my dream of, maybe entertaining airline, but flying seaplanes and, living that romantic life in the Caribbean and wanting to sail. And I did. I got to do that. I got to sail while I was down there. I got to learn how to scuba dive, and living in the islands was fantastic. And a lot of good things came from that place. And I met my wife down there.
Sure, which is fantastic. But actually, it's kind of funny because you at the time, not even your fiance, she was your girlfriend.
Yeah.
When you got an email from me going,
right.
So, because by then I think almost 2 years had passed. Or close to.
It was about a year and a half, I think, since you left.
Yeah, and I had gone back to flying jumpers and found a fantastic gig, and we were looking for another pilot, and I didn't think of anybody else, specifically because, not only of the multiple conversations that we'd had while flying, and I knew that you had expressed a big interest in the way I got to fly these planes.
Sure, yeah, we got to talk about that extensively while we flew together.
Absolutely, but also because of that experience with you losing the aileron, I'm like, well, fuck, I can't imagine somebody I would rather have as a jumper, sitting in the cockpit. And so this job offer comes up, and I sent you a message going, so are you sick of that shit yet? And I know you had to do a fair amount of soul searching and then a pretty goddamn fast forward on your agenda.
Well, I mean, you met me at a really interesting transition time. You say, I just met my girlfriend at the time, now my wife, and it wasn't long since I was, buzzing her boat in the harbor before I was thinking about leaving that whole life behind. And,
sure.
She was a boat captain and taking people out on snorkel tours out to Buck Island, which is a national preserve. It's a protected coral reef. It's absolutely gorgeous. And it just so happened that a lot of days I flew the seaplane, and she was taking her boat out and going to the island with her passengers right about the time I was taking off.
Oops.
So
never happened. I don't know what you're talking about.
What's a boyfriend with a seaplane to do but buzz her boat every single time?
Filled with passengers in an airline.
Hey, she told me that her tips were better on the days that I did it, so it was mutually beneficial.
Well, there you go.
But yeah, I mean, it wasn't long from doing that to knowing that she's the one, and you offering a new opportunity, and she and I jumped for it. So now we're married, and we've got two lovely boys and a third on the way.
Because you're a fucking maniac.
There's going to be 3 under 3 within 6 months now.
Boy, 3 under 3, and every one of them's got a penis. 3 boys.
Yeah.
Fucking hell. I mean, I know you're happy about that, but
I hope it's easier. I don't know. I think I need to get an account at the emergency room, though.
Man, of course. Eventually you will, absolutely. Because if they take you after dad or mom, I mean, mom jumped too. So
absolutely, mom's a skydiver. I'm a skydiver.
Let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. So I'd rope you into this world, but it was funny because you resisted a bit at first, and you were a bit trepidatious going into the job. And you were the first person ever to quote me back to myself, and it's embarrassing because I didn't even know you were quoting me.
But you were like, man, whoever said that, they must be really smart.
I did, I know, which, of course, yeah. But it was fucking hilarious because I had written an article about jump pilots and versus airline pilots, and I tried to give as much credit as I could to the airline guys because it's a type of flying that I tried and sucked at, or not sucked at, but it just wasn't my thing. But
right, I mean,
it's a whole different kind of thing, but I have, as a jump pilot and as someone who has trained multiple jump pilots, come to a very solid conclusion, and that is that training an airline pilot to become a jump pilot is next to fucking impossible. And I believe the line that you quoted me was, I said something along the lines of, I would rather take a skydiver that's never flown a plane and turn them into a jump pilot than take a pilot that's never jumped out of an airplane and try and teach them how to become a jump pilot.
That's exactly what you said.
Yeah, and you quoted that back to me, and I didn't even know my own fucking writing.
But you're absolutely right. I mean, I understand why you didn't stay in the islands, because despite how fun that was in some respects and adventurous, it changed. Like the time from flying around and going, oh, there's a whale, and actually doing whale spotting and just deciding we're going to circle this whale for 10 minutes and then we'll continue your flight back to the island, and just like, you're lucky, people, enjoy this. This is what we're doing. Like
all that was gone when I got there.
Yeah, exactly, because the FAA showed up and then it became less fun, and then a lot of the cool people left. No offense to the people that were still there when I left, but it was like late to the party is what I was saying earlier. Like I felt like I got there, some of the cool people were already kind of leaving the party. Then the cops showed up and busted up the party, and now people are either losing their jobs or
throwing up in the bushes.
getting in trouble for this and that. And it was like, this party's over. So it was time to go.
I'll tell you what, though, I was lucky enough to get there at a time when I still got to meet the characters that made it as cool as it was, even though it wasn't still that cool. Chris Hackler I knew from before, who was a badass. Jeff Newton, also known as Newt, previous jump pilot, officially the most badass motherfucker I've ever met. He got a 10,000-hour Twin Otter badge and nailed it to the wall in the popular bar in St. Croix. Who the fuck does that? How do you get 10,000 hours in one kind of plane and go, yeah, that's kind of cool, and slam it into a wall because he was that much of a badass? Cliff Irving, Cliffy,
Irving
come on.
Clifford, yeah.
Irving Clifford. I mean, these guys, you're talking about just the most amazing crew of guys, salty motherfuckers that have been doing it for, I'll never forget. Cliff was the guy that had his foot up on the panel, fucking scratching his knee at the time and letting me just sink or swim through this big patch of fucking green at night in a storm over the Caribbean.
That could be his style, though.
He was a badass, though.
Yeah.
Well, and asking me what it was like to be a stripper in Vegas. While I'm sweating fucking buckets, my balls have retracted completely inside my body, and I'm more, I'm more like a hermaphrodite at this point.
That's too much.
Yeah, no, it's just seriously. But he's asking, so was it cool being a stripper in Vegas? I'm like, are you fucking kidding me, dude? There's
trying to focus. Fucking focusing.
There's a lot more water than island out there, and I don't know where that fucking island is.
Yeah, man. Flying down there in the dark at night,
man.
Between the islands when there's no light.
Nothing.
Yeah, you better trust your instruments.
Absolutely. Well, or even the clear nights when the water was calm and the sky was crystal clear, and you'd see the reflections of the stars in the water, and you still had no horizon because the water had fucking stars in it.
Right.
Fuck me. Scary shit. So, yeah, for all those reasons, I'm really glad I got there when I did, and I'm really glad I left when I did it. And I'm also really glad that I kind of pulled you out of that because you have excelled in throwing people out of planes.
Well, thanks, man. I appreciate that. No, I just want to touch back on what you said a moment ago about it being a totally different way to fly the airplane. And, you flew it single pilot, and you flew it to its limits.
Sure.
That's the game in skydiving, right? We're flying these planes
max performance,
highly efficiently as we can, which means max performance all the time. And you go from that environment where you're really yanking and banking the airplane and getting it up and getting it down, and you go to an airline where now you're sitting right seat for somebody else flying a plane that you can fly perfectly well by yourself at limits way beyond we're flying it all by yourself. How boring is that? But me, I came at it the other way, whereas I was working my way up through the airline, and then I got to go fly it to its limits.
Oh, and that's why I was so excited when you started doing that.
Oh,
flying.
man.
Dude, I was chomping.
I know you were.
I was more excited than you were. I'm like,
I know, I could tell, and I was like, I hope I don't suck at this.
No.
That's what I was thinking. Like, I better not be bad at this. So.
No, and I knew you were going to be fantastic at it. What I didn't realize is that you weren't just going to be a hell of a jump pilot, but that you were also going to take to the sport.
Oh, man. Awesome. How could you not? Like, my dad is probably one of my biggest influencers in life, and he was really cool about not influencing me before I made my decisions. He was a pilot. I didn't know that until I became a pilot. He used to ride motorcycles. I didn't know that until I bought my own first motorcycle. Like, they refused growing up to even buy me a dirt bike.
Sure.
But when I got old enough, I was like, I'm buying a bike and I'm buying a Harley.
Sure.
And I did, and it's awesome. I still own it. Never going to sell her. Anyways, I didn't know that about him until I did it first.
Sure.
And one thing I did know about him, though, is that he was a paratrooper. He's career military, career Army. And he was battalion commander for 82nd Airborne.
Wow.
And
wow.
Yeah, so he's an airborne, Ranger. No joke. Badass. And we never got to jump together. We never, he's still around. But I think the time may be past for us to actually get to jump together at this point. I hope he doesn't feel that way and surprises me next time we talk.
No, fuck it, man. Come out here.
But
make a jump with your son.
Yeah.
Come on. Let's go play.
You could do it.
I'll jump.
You could do it.
We'll go.
Yeah.
Somebody will fly a plane.
But anyway, so my dad was a skydiver, and he was a sports skydiver as well when he was young. And he actually told me this wild story one time. He was probably college age, whatever. This is when he was going to West Point. And, man, this was early 70s. He graduated in 69, so this is late 60s that he's doing this. So wherever the sport was in the late 60s, my dad was doing that, okay?
Yeah.
He and three of his buddies took their skydive gear, so their helmets, which I think were probably just those goofy frap hats, but it's their helmets, their goggles, their alties and whatnot, and they went to the local amusement park. Not like circus, but I'm talking like Six Flags or whatever the regional one there is in New York. And proceeded to tell the young kids working that they were from Roller Coaster Magazine and they were there with these scientific instruments and they needed to ride this brand new coaster which had just come out from the front car, then followed immediately by the middle car, and then from the last car. And then if they needed to, they might need to switch up seats again just to make sure that they can evaluate this ride properly.
Awesome. I like your dad.
And they did.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Yeah. Fucking.
So, anyways,
nice. A little bit of bullshit goes a long way.
Big influence there on wanting to try skydiving. And
well, I was lucky enough that after all this and the hours of conversations that we had in the cockpit flying to and from the islands and in between all this shit talking about skydiving and all that I ended up flying your very first jump and taking fucking pictures of you on my iPhone instead of flying the plane.
Right.
I need to take pictures of Eric because he's about to jump out of this plane, and I've got you in the back getting ready to make your first AFF with the Protec helmet and the glasses and the horrible jumpsuit and the huge goofy grin on your face, and I'm like, I felt like the proud parent. I'm like, look, there he goes.
Yeah.
It was
amazing. Man, what an experience.
Well, and you ended up embracing it, and then your wife ended up embracing it, and then you got her pregnant 3 fucking times.
Yeah, well, what's a guy to do? Got a good-looking wife.
Don't get me wrong. I'm not faulting you on that side of it. But you're a busy boy now.
Yeah, there's no doubt. It is work and then go home and go to work.
Or come and talk to me, and I'm gonna browbeat you until you come into the pilot tunnel day, and we're gonna go fly in the tunnel, and then we're gonna go.
So I don't screw up another pilot.
Yeah,
jump.
we're gonna
That's
make
why.
another pilot jump where you don't fucking knock me out of the fucking sky.
Yeah, you want me to come to the tunnel and practice just self-preservation reasons.
So you're not a meat missile that just blindsides me.
Yeah, no, I was a wrecking ball on that move. Yeah, it was sweet though.
I believe
Glad we have it on video.
Was it Junior that was filming that? I think it was Junior that was filming that. A good buddy of mine that's been on a previous podcast, David Junior Ludwig. Go look him up on his Instagram page and all that.
Junior.
His shit sucks, but it's I got to give him a little.
He's a pretty good guy, so it makes up for
decent.
it.
So he's out there filming this thing, and if you ask him, he was laughing so goddamn hard he could barely frame the video because the tears that were collecting.
I think you can hear him laughing in the video.
You probably can because it was fucking hilarious. Because a bunch of pilots that clearly can't fly.
My exit was solid.
You left the plane if that's what you mean by solid.
That's where it started. Yes, I'm going to stick to that. There were elements that were awesome in that jump.
Absolutely.
The exit and the landing.
Yeah. Well, you fucking took me out in the middle.
Yeah.
It
was good.
Right where I need. Oh yeah.
So yeah, I'm loving the sport.
Well, and you're new to it too. So, and I've said
I'm
this.
a freshman in the sport. I still have less than 100 jumps. I did look at my logbook, but I'm not revealing the actual number. But I have not been current in a little while. It seems like every time.
Shh, just go jump.
Okay.
You're current. You're totally current.
I'm gonna be totally current when I go back
When,
out.
whoever listens to this podcast, you're totally fucking current.
It's not to worry, but every time, I should say, we find out that we're pregnant again, I get put on restriction. So,
And you and she number
I understand.
3. When is
I
the
understand.
due date for number 3?
This summer. I'll leave it vague.
Can she not be pregnant for a little while?
Yeah, you and
It's
I were
affecting-
joking about the fact that 90% of the time you've known my wife,
She's been pregnant.
I think that's probably close
It
to
is.
accurate.
That's absolutely is. Rachel,
Yeah, I'm sure she's ready as well. Look, this third one is a blessing, and we're excited. But boy, has my workload increased and my
have
sleep
no doubt.
time decreased.
I have no doubt. But let's be smart about this. We need to tip our hats and pay homage to the woman that's really doing the hard work.
Are you kidding me? Yes.
Because Rachel, not only do
All
you
the
have
love.
to take care of the kids and all that stuff, you got to put up with this fucking guy.
Yeah. No, she is truly a badass.
And jumps.
Just to be able to put up with me, but she's just awesome. And when we got here, I mean, to jump right into the extreme lifestyle, she had never ridden a dirt bike before, and
Right.
like the 4th time she was riding her dirt bike, she entered the first ever woman's motocross race.
That's pretty
Now,
awesome.
she didn't win, but I'm talking like she had been riding her dirt bike for less than a week, and she's like, "Yeah, I'll do a race."
Why not? Why not?
You
Hey,
kidding
fuck
me?
it.
Same attitude with, "Yeah, I'll start skydiving," and yeah, I can't wait to jump with her again, man.
Awesome.
But-
Well, it'll probably be a little while. Maybe when the kids are out of diapers.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah. So what comes next? I mean, you started out doing the seaplane thing. You transitioned to the airline stuff. Then you met me, and I talked you into the dark side to flying
Yeah.
jumpers and jumping out of airplanes. This isn't the end all be all for too many people. It is for me. I found my love for flying in a very narrow area. I really love what I do. I really love the flying that I do, and I also love that I'm in my own bed every night. That I get to fly
Yeah.
planes in a way that most pilots never will. You know, the airline guys, hats off, because they can fly in an airplane in a way that I can't.
Right.
And yes, I could be trained to do it, but I don't think I'd be good at it.
Yeah, but those guys can afford their own planes to go do what we're talking about.
Yeah, some of them can for sure.
Some of them can.
Some of them can.
No, there's certain. I know. I understand what you're saying. I think there's a huge difference and a huge trade-off between choosing the two different paths within aviation.
Sure.
And a lot of times within aviation, people just get on the one track, and it's the airline track, and that's the route they go. But aviation is truly diverse.
So
and
many different
I have
routes.
not been mainstream. You have not been mainstream. Plenty of other people have not, and they've had lucrative careers traveling, seeing the world, flying in beautiful, awesome places, challenging places. And I don't know what's next for me. Certainly, I preserve the option.
Sure, you reserve the right to do whatever the fuck
to
you
go
want.
to the airline before
Sure.
I get too old. Fortunately, it's a time, in the industry where I might still be able to do that. But I'm having a lot of fun with this type of flying. Single pilot, and you are flying the airplane to its limits. And it's a lot of responsibility, because while we may not take as many people in one flight as somebody does on an airline, over the course of the day, we're flying 200 to 300 passengers.
It's not more. I mean,
And we are always in a critical phase of flight.
Well, that's just the thing, and I tried to explain that to a friend as well, who said, well, yeah, but the airline guys will have like 400 people on their planes, and they got to fly all the way across the ocean for 14 hours.
Big deal.
Okay, yeah, absolutely.
I mean, look, they
do,
earn their
but-
big money when stuff goes wrong,
Sure.
but things rarely do go
Sure.
wrong, and they're just pushing buttons a lot of times.
Yeah, and again, all credit to them. It's a different kind of flying than what we do, but you take the 300 or 400 people in a day that will fly, and we're doing that, like you said, in critical phases of flight at all time, at max performance at all time. And there is no autopilot. There's no button to push. We're doing it by hand all day, every day, and it's a big fucking deal. I climb out of an airplane after a 6 or 7 or 8 hour day of flying, and I'm physically exhausted. And people say, but you just sit down all day. No, your brain is switched on. Yeah. Imagine doing...
And your ears are popping every time you go up, every time you go down. I don't think people really realize the amount of fatigue that just that plays on you by the end of the day.
It's huge. Well, and just imagine having to do not intense but relatively complex equations or thought processes for 8 straight hours.
Yeah. I tried to explain just how a jump run goes down for somebody the other day, like how precise that actually is. And again, I don't want to take anything away from airline guys. There was plenty of times when I was jump seating out of St. Croix or St. Thomas on the seaplane, and all the big airline guys that were nice enough to let me sit in their cockpit and pretend I was a real airline pilot and jump seat.
Oh, I used to love that.
Were just like, oh my God, what do you do? Oh, I want your job. And at that time I was thinking, I'll trade you. Like, I would love to have your job. But, I've seen this side of aviation now through the seaplane side of things, and just the sheer challenge of every time you land a seaplane, your runway is changing. The romance of seaplanes.
The whole Pirate
they are
looks
the
at 40.
ultimate. They are the ultimate, SUV if you think about it.
Sure.
And yeah, Pirate looks at 40.
It's the Jimmy Buffett.
Absolutely, Jimmy Buffett.
What's the? And I always forget the name of the damn plane, and you'll know it in a heartbeat. But there's a very famous picture of Jimmy Buffett sitting on the nose of the airplane that's floating.
Yeah,
in
the
bay.
Albatross. That was his Albatross.
Hell.
Yeah, he actually got his seaplane rating at Jack Brown's, where I was an instructor.
He also got his license yanked, didn't he?
I don't know about that.
Jimmy, I love you.
But I do know some of his personal pilots, and that's not an easy gig either.
That's what I've been told.
But look, like I said, there's lots of avenues, right? There's
Right.
lots of avenues in aviation, and you could be Jimmy Buffett's pilot when he doesn't want to fly the plane if
Well,
he
there you
really
go.
wanted to.
Now, so you've hit all these different avenues, and you've found a little bit of joy and a little bit of headache in every one of them, as we have. I mean, I love being a jump pilot, but there's days that I want to jump through the prop. Same thing as when I was in the airline, and I'm sure the same for you. But you've also found yourself now in a community that is probably tighter, maybe barring the whole seaplane community, and even larger. Skydiving is an extremely tight community. It's a big fucking family, and even
It is.
And there's no 3 degrees of separation. It's 1 degree of separation, if anything.
Yeah.
And you've been in it long enough now that you've been able to form an opinion, and clearly you're still sticking with it. So us skydivers must have held an appeal. I mean, it is
a different type of community, but for me, it's more about a different type of lifestyle and life outside of flying. I mean, the flying is thrilling and interesting to me and engaging, but I have a family at home, and a lot of the skydive lifestyle is what goes on at the drop zone, and then what goes on after the drop zone's closed, and the party lifestyle. And I didn't come into skydiving through skydiving. I came into it as a pilot, and almost immediately as a multiple father pilot.
Sure.
So that whole aspect, like the social partying aspect, has never been a big part of my influence in skydiving. But nonetheless, the community has been so welcoming and reassuring and nurturing of somebody like me that works within the sport, doesn't necessarily socialize within the sport as much, but really wants to learn the sport.
Sure.
And that's the greatest thing about skydiving is the community is very supportive of wanting to help people progress and to have fun and to enjoy the skydives. Some of it, that may be self-preservation. They don't want to absolute jackass jumping on their drop zone and potentially taking them out. But,
there's lots of those.
Yeah, there's plenty of those, I guess. But no, it's an extremely welcoming and nurturing environment. And even with kids.
Sure. Well,
And we're all just kids playing around at the drop zone anyway.
Well, the funny thing is, and a lot of my friends in the sport and would agree that I've kind of grown up in the sport. I started late in the sport. I didn't make my first jump until I was in my mid-20s, which is pretty late nowadays. But I've matured
a lot
in this
earlier
sport,
than me, my friend.
right? I've matured in this sport, and so many of my friends have as well. And so the whole party aspect of the skydiving is not even a factor for me anymore. I'll make my appearances, and I certainly enjoy that type of thing still. But my days of going big are long behind me. So I feel you in the family aspect of it, because I definitely pull back from that portion of it as well. But the community of skydiving never fades. And even that little time you spend on the drop zone on shutdowns when you're getting gas in the airplane and stuff, you can feel it. I mean, you'll spend a fuel shutdown, and all you want to do is race to the bathroom because you got to pee so bad you're seeing yellow, and it takes you 10 minutes to get to the bathroom because you've got to greet 150 people on the way. And part of it is it's flat out amazing. You're like, wait a second, this is fucking cool. Some of these people only know the back of my head because I'm sitting in the airplane all the time.
I had somebody say that just the other day. Like, we sometimes don't know which pilot's flying because we don't see your face. We just see your arm. And I'm like, well, at least you know which ones of us have muscles.
That's it. That's it. That's it. Absolutely. Yeah, well, those of us that are a little too vain and trying to flex on takeoff if there's a cute girl in the back, something like that. The whole which way is the beach.
Yeah, that doesn't bother me so much anymore. It actually reminds me of a funny story about my best refusal of a skydive ever. Talking about like trying to flex for the pretty girls in the back. I had a VIP load one day that happened to be Victoria's Secret models. And it was like the last load of the day. It was everything's done. You've already cranked out a good day's work. And they're like, oh, we're going to need you to shut down and wait. We've got a VIP load. And I was like, all right, well, who is it? You'll be happy to know it's Victoria's Secret models. And I was like, fine, I guess I'll wait.
Yeah. I'll suffer through that one.
Guess I'll wait.
Fuck.
And they were not your top Victoria's Secret models, the ones... I'm not saying they were unattractive. They're just not the famous ones that you see doing all the stuff.
They were the second string.
Yeah, I think they were the up-and-comers because they all looked really young.
Up and what?
Yeah, you heard me.
Okay.
But there were two guys traveling with them. And one was
were they Dumb and Dumber oil boys?
I wondered. I wasn't sure what was going on at first. I was analyzing the dynamic. But... So one of them was this really tall blonde boy who was super effeminate. And I was like,
yeah, he's gay.
Okay.
He's gay.
All right, got that. But the other guy was like this short, kind of stocky guy with like an arm tattoo, like a full sleeve or something. And yeah, kind of like yours. And he had skydivers shaved in his head.
What?
Like he had his head shaved with skydivers shaved in his head. Anyways, well, it's like a style, right? To shave cool stuff in your head.
It is.
Well, this guy had a cool haircut, but it didn't really suit him. And he gets on the plane with everybody else, and guess who refused?
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah, man.
Oh.
He even got passed by one of the girls. He was not supposed to be the last one out of the airplane, but... he was like second to last, so one of the last girls like laughed at him as she passed by him and jumped out of the airplane.
Awesome.
And I was like, oh man. I was like, out of all the chicks on this plane, you are the biggest puss. I couldn't believe it.
I'll tell you what, skydiving solidified in my mind permanent and solid equality between male and female so many years ago it's not even funny. And I had a similar refusal, and I was shooting video for a guy out of Cessna 206 at the time in Las Vegas. And he was supposed to be first out of the airplane. I'm his cameraman. His girlfriend is jumping as well. She has not purchased video. So it's their tandem, my tandem, and me. That's it. We get on the jump run, and this guy's, or not quite jump run, and we're getting geared up, and the student is turned around, and he's scooted up to the front of the airplane, and from pretty much the time he got up onto his knees to start getting hooked up to his instructor, he was getting really nervous. And he ended up with a death grip on the seat of the pilot. So he's got his left arm all the way back grabbing onto the seat. He's got his right arm clenched onto the panel of the airplane, and he is freaking the fuck out as he's getting. And he finally decides, there's no way I can do this. I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't do it. And myself and the instructor are both trying to talk him into it, but there's no way. Now I'm literally sitting in front of him. His knees are up against my balls, because I'm supposed to be climbing out first, and he's absolutely not going to do this. So now we've got to do the Cessna Shuffle, the do-si-do. Well, the girlfriend now has to back up all the way into the tail of the airplane while he backs up to get behind the pilot's seat so that she can scoot forward and leave the airplane.
Yeah.
While all this is happening, I'm telling him, I'm like, dude, I'm going to jump no matter what. I'm not landing in this plane, so I might as well go ahead and shoot video for her. Is that cool? He's like, yeah, whatever. He's freaked the fuck out. And this is not a little petite guy. He's a big, buff, strong fucking guy.
It's surprising sometimes.
Oh, yeah. And as she scoots forward now, mind you, I'm now out on the step, but I've still got my head kind of in the airplane. I've got my one foot out on the airplane, and as I'm leaning out to get a nice close shot of her as she's scooting by him, she punches him in the fucking chest and goes, fucking pussy, and goes right past him and rolls out of the airplane with me.
Oh, that's hilarious.
I was laughing as hard as Junior, fucking screaming all the way down, just dying.
That's brutal.
And I've got it on somewhere. I've got that shit on video. And you know damn well that relationship
it didn't last.
No, it didn't survive driving down the road away from the fucking drop zone.
Man.
And that was where I kind of figured it out. And props to all female skydivers, but all women in general. I'm sorry, women might not necessarily be genetically stronger than men, but they're generally fucking tougher than we are.
Absolutely.
I've watched
in a lot
more,
of ways. In a lot of ways. I've watched my wife go through now her third pregnancy. I was sick. I was sick like last week, and I was a total wuss.
Well,
so there's no way.
It would be like me squeezing a fucking golf ball out of the tip of my fucking penis. Nah.
Yeah, you
no,
just don't want to do that. It's not good for you.
No, it's because if men got pregnant, there would be no human race.
Yeah.
It's just that simple. I really am convinced women are tougher than men.
I do have to say, I think there's probably been about a 50-50 split on refusals. Most people really go for it. You know, if you come out and you want to try a skydive for whatever reason, generally people go for it. But I think between the refusals, it might be a 50-50 split.
I think I've actually seen more guys than refuse than girls, but obviously...
I do like the girls' exits better, though. Even when they're scared, you can see them kind of get over the fear sometimes.
I think
then they just go for it. And it's like you just... Even with noise-canceling headsets, one of the most rewarding parts of my day...
Right.
is to have a screamer.
Oh, yeah.
And she's just in the back door going, ah! Just fades off into nothing. You're like, that's
It's amazing
awesome.
how far you can hear them. It
is.
really is absolutely amazing.
Incredible.
They probably get it at least a few 100 feet away from the airplane. Fucking hell, that girl had a set of lungs. I only disagree with you on one point. They don't forget about the fear. They surrender to it, and men don't. Because... people like you and me were raised to be tough asses, all right? You got to be tough. Boys don't cry. Boys don't get scared. We ran around in my day and age with fucking razor blade glasses and no fear T-shirts. So that was the culture we were raised in. 90s. If there's no such thing as no fear, well, then the guys that were raised that way have no way to cope with it when it actually happens. So when a guy is faced with fear, real fucking fear for the first time, he's got no mechanisms to cope with it. Women, on the other hand, are raised to be, you need to be scared of this and be careful of that, and don't go here without friends, and don't go there without somebody to watch out for you.
Some girls,
and
maybe.
But they were raised to believe that they were more vulnerable than men, and so when a man is faced with a vulnerability that he's never had to deal with before, they shit themselves and fucking melt down. Not all of them.
I've seen it happen, so I'm not going to deny that.
It absolutely.
But I think this is like skydive sociology 101 from a fucking pilot here. But you've been in this game for
long time.
long time.
Well, a
So
long
you've
time.
had plenty of time to think about that.
The tandem instructors and cameramen that have been in the game as long as I have, and the lion's share of my jumps, both video and tandem, are all customer based.
Yeah.
So yes, you absolutely become a fucking psychologist.
Yeah,
you have to
because
learn.
you want to get them to go.
Well, yeah. Well, and you have to learn how to read people on the fly.
Yeah.
Pun totally intended.
Oh, man, you're getting good
I'm
with
good at
these.
that, right?
You're getting good with these.
I only had, out of over 8,000 tandems that I took, I only had one potential refusal, or 75. Anyway, a lot of tandems. I hold a lot of meat. I had one guy decide he was going to refuse.
I saw the picture of that
Right.
one woman. You're right.
She's a big girl. Big girl. Yeah, we'll get around to that story someday.
Around
But
that story.
we're exiting out of the Skydive Cross Keys Sky Van, and we're over the water because we're doing a boogie over the coast in where the fuck were we? Wildwood, New Jersey. Yeah, so we're doing the Wildwood boogie, and I've got a guy that's probably 3 inches taller than me. He's like 6'1", and we get about 10 paces away, and less than that, maybe 5 paces away from the exit, from the door, and he's like, I can't fucking do it. I can't do it. There's no way I can physically overpower this guy. And by this time, I've got thousands of tandems under my belt, and I've never had a refusal. So it's a point of pride for me at this point that no one's ever backed out. I've been able to persuade everyone to make that jump.
Trip them till they fall out of the airplane.
Right. You know, I've been able to, and I had a motto, you can say no as much as you want, but if you're still moving towards the door, we're going for a skydive. So we get about 5 paces away from the fucking door, and there's no way. I can't physically overpower this guy. It's not going to happen. So I tell him, all right, really carefully, I need you to turn around and face the front of the airplane, and then we'll walk back. So he slowly starts to turn around, and I stumble the 5 paces backwards out the fucking tailgate. Because I don't care how tall you are, I'm running backwards. A 6'1", 6'2" inch guy isn't going to keep me from going backwards.
Momentum is shifting.
Yeah, you know. So we ended up making the skydiving under canopy. Oh my god, that was fucking amazing! But what happened? And I'm like, well, you backed up too far, man. Because you can't make them go. You can't. It's totally against the rules. So if I was still doing tandems, I'd probably get in trouble for that. But fuck you, because I'm not.
Whatever.
You know.
But you bring up something that I actually was talking about earlier with respect to how complicated you can choose to make flying jumpers, and that is that every time a skydiver or a group of skydivers leaves your airplane, it's a CG shift.
Sure.
The plane loses weight. You know, it wants to behave and fly differently. So for people who are pilots who have never been a jump pilot, just imagine every time one person, 3 people, an 8-way, a group of whatever leave the airplane, you're trying to fly an ILS to keep it on jump run, taking into account drift and the wind direction as a headwind, and making these semi-smart meat bombs land on the drop zone. And every time somebody leaves, it changes for you. So you're adjusting trim, pitch, everything.
Yeah.
And it becomes a lot of work sometimes.
Oh, yeah. Well, I tried to explain it to an airline friend of mine that had never flown jumpers, and I'm like, all right, it's like flying a precision approach, but your plane is taking a shit while you're doing it.
That's a good way to explain.
And you don't know if it's a little
But you're
turn.
not even, you're not in the descent either. You're trying to maintain altitude.
You're trying to hold straight and level at a specific airspeed on a specific course for this entire length of time, and a little bunny turtle come out, and then a fucking camel shit will come out, and you have no idea necessarily which one is coming next. And sometimes they're fucking clingers, and they hang on for a while, and so not only do you have a shitload of weight hanging on your tail, but it's hanging on one side of the tail, creating a whole bunch of extra drag until the hairs finally snap and it goes away.
Come on, Dingleberry, get out of here.
That's what flying fucking jumpers is like. And so you try to explain that to a pilot that's never experienced it, and you're like, look, I had the guy that gave me my multi-engine rating during my FAA, like hardcore check ride. In the middle of it all, we're having a discussion because we're flying to this next point that we got to go to, and he already knew what I did, and I was explaining a little bit here and there, and talking about emergency descents, and we had done the emergency descent on the check ride, and I kind of giggled, and he's like, "What are you laughing at?"
What are you laughing at?
I'm like, "That's not a fucking emergency descent."
Let me show you how you can really fly this plane.
He actually stopped mid check ride, said, So are they flying out there now? Yeah, they're flying. And you're like the chief pilot? Yeah. Could I come up? And, well, if you come up, are you wearing your FAA hat? He's like, no, you can come up anytime you want.
Right.
And
who am I flying with?
Absolutely. And so, I was privileged enough to be able to take him up after the fact and show him what it was really like. And he was like, wow.
What the plane can really do.
Okay. It's really impressive. The skill set that you learn as a jump pilot is unique to that or akin to the crop dusting stuff.
Sure.
Where you're shifting your CG and the plane doesn't fly like the same plane it was 5 fucking minutes ago.
Mm-hmm.
It's a different plane. Now do that 20 or 30 times
Yeah.
a day over and over again. And it becomes a very exciting and very, very challenging way to fly, which is why I love it.
Exciting and challenging, and I don't know if that's because you're increasing the level of risk or if it's because you are removing the safety margin, which, arguably it's the same thing.
It is, yeah.
But obviously crop dusting, you're flying low to the ground. There's you've got
Sure.
limited time to do the right thing if
Sure.
something doesn't go right. Skydivers in general, if something goes wrong solely with the airplane, we are fairly close to the drop zone and the airport or a landing strip, which is awesome. But there's obviously the potential when anything is falling out of an airplane for it to go wrong.
Tons of stuff.
And, one of the biggest differences I've noticed between airline flying and skydive flying is that people travel for a lot of reasons on the airlines, and they're not all good. Some people are in great moods on vacation, whatever, going to a wedding. Other people are in really lousy moods, going from prison to their court date, for instance. Okay, like you got different passengers traveling for different reasons.
Yeah, man.
And then the biggest difference is that all of my passengers now, as a skydive pilot, are happy
They're
to be
fucking
on
happy,
the plane.
right?
They might be terrified,
But they're happy.
but they're excited and happy to be on my plane.
Yep.
And you know what? Even if they're not, I don't have to fly with them, but for half the flight generally.
Yeah, no, there's something
My
being
passengers get out of my airplane, which is a trip. It's just a trip.
There's a lot to be said about, that guy was a dick, but he just fell out of my airplane, so I'm all right with the world. Yeah, it's totally. No, I completely get it. And it very much and I was lucky, and one of the reasons that I came back to skydiving so easily after leaving what was supposed to be the path that any pilot wants to take was because I knew that I was coming back to an industry and an environment where, for the most part, people are happy. For the most part, people
full
have
of life, man.
Oh,
full.
yeah.
How can you not be full of life?
Absolutely.
And pursue this sport?
Absolutely, and the sport and a common goal and a common desire. And yes, people have bad days in skydiving, just like everything else. And yes, people have bad days flying jumpers, just like anything else. But for me personally, I wouldn't trade it for the world. And,
no, I mean, there's good and there's bad, right? I mean, you've been in sport a long time. So, pet peeve, like what's your number one pet peeve about stupid skydivers?
Do I have to pick just one?
You can start with one. I'm curious, generally.
All right, so my number one pet peeve is a huge safety issue, and that is just cracking the door on the climb, maybe like 3 or 4 inches, and then
Just enough.
and then having someone sit down, pilot shoot towards the door right next to that door that's cracked 3 or 4 inches. Now, you may or may not have seen the pictures out there of the Caravan that had a jumper who had the pilot chute go out the door, the canopy deployed, and the jumper left a gaping, I don't even know how to describe it.
He tried to rip another door next to the correct door in the aircraft with his body.
Yeah, he basically physically put a fucking 3-foot dent into the side of this plane and ripped the door jamb out of this Caravan. And so that particularly for me really bothers me because people say, it's never going to happen. The pilot chute's not going to come out. Well, you know something?
Never say never, and it better not happen on my airplane.
Well, and for me, it's a 1 in a million chance is too much risk when it comes to that portion of it. Because this is the part of skydiving that's supposed to be the one that we can control the most.
I agree. Skydiving is generally extremely safe.
It
is. They call it an
Right. extreme
extreme sport. It's an extremely safe sport because in general, people that participate in this sport have their heads screwed on
Of
and are
course.
paying attention because, there is a risk to it. You have to respect that.
Well, and it's also one of the reasons that, and any longtime skydivers will know this from experience, there's a spike in skydiving business every time somebody dies in skydiving. Why? because, oh my God, is it still extreme? Is it still dangerous? Because we would go ridiculous lengths of time without anything really bad happening in a skydive, and then as soon as you would have a major skydiving incident at your drop zone or a nearby drop zone, you would see a spike in business because people would think that it was dangerous again. Which
That's
shows
unbelievable.
that shows to the nature of human beings.
It does, doesn't
that also
it?
shows to the crazy.
There's an attraction to the danger, to
Of
the
course.
dark side, man.
Well,
like
and
you
also,
said.
it's the crazy safety that skydiving has. You know, I mean, it really is quite safe, and I can't speak to it more. So you got little things like that. That anytime it lowers the safety, those are the things that bother me.
You know what bothers me?
What's that?
Farts.
Oh, I love farting in the plane. Oh,
That's because your farts really stink, man, and you can actually fire back. But what my biggest pet peeve, not safety concern, because I'm with you with that door thing. I had a window blow out on one of my planes, and it was actually just a sliver of a window, and it hit my tail, and it sliced the tail open. I can only imagine what a person, an open canopy,
Everybody
and a
dies.
jump door
no,
would
everybody
do.
dies.
Yeah,
Everybody dies.
I want to go home at the end of my day. I have plans with my family. Like, if it's a safety issue, like the door, you're stupid. You shouldn't be on my plane.
Sure.
But farts, man.
I
like
love
they really.
farting. in
Now
the plane.
I've said it, and now I'm afraid that I've said it because if anybody listens to this,
They're
and they
gonna
fly
fart in
with
your
me.
plane.
They're not even going to try to hold it anymore.
So look, guys. I'm going to give
Look.
you here, for anybody that ever flies with Erik Von Kennel. Also, known as
Stop
Von Kennel.
talking.
Well,
No, stop
shush.
talking.
This is my podcast. I will mute your mic. There is this recipe, and it only works for me.
no.
Okay, I just muted his mic, so he can't talk.
Is it a veggie samosa? Don't do it.
So you
Damn you, Ty.
you go out and you have an amazing steak with all the trimmings, onions, the whole 9 yards, just everything loaded up, big fucking steak, the mushrooms, all that. That's not enough though. So you have to have that late with a couple of glasses of wine, and then when you wake up in the morning, have a full breakfast. But on your way to the drop zone, you need to eat an entire loaf of cinnamon raisin bread. I don't know if it's the yeast. I don't know if it's the raisins.
On that note, I've got a couple of shifts I'd like to trade with you
Yeah,
on the spot.
I don't know if it's the raisins, but I actually, from the cockpit, made a little Japanese man sitting next to the door vomit so hard that he filled up a Safeway freezer bag.
Oh, no.
That's a whole nother story, though. And on that light note, I want you to give me the last thoughts, tips to pilots, tips to skydivers. How are we going to wrap this up? What do you want people to know about flying for the airlines, about flying for skydivers, just about the aviation in general, about the sport that you found yourself in?
Wow, that's like, hey, let's just recap everything. No, man, if you have any desire to be a pilot, don't hesitate. Like, the market is different now. The industry's changed. You can find people that will sponsor you and pay for you to get all the way into that seat. But more than anything, that was just a passion that I found as I grew. It was never one particular thing. It just kind of happened. And if you experience life and pay attention to the signs, sometimes things just point you in the direction that your life is supposed to go. And for me, it brought me to aviation, and aviation, helped create our friendship and brought me to this sport. And I love flying. I love jumping. And I work with an incredible group of people, both in aviation and at the drop zones, that are super passionate about what they love. And I think, whether it's skydiving, which I would recommend everybody try if you haven't, just go for a tandem sometime. It's not for everybody, but it might be for you, and you won't regret it. Just follow your passion and see where it leads you. It's a good time for aviation. It's always a great time to be a skydiver. And
Indeed.
I wouldn't change a thing right now.
Awesome. Well, and at the end of the day, that's really all you can ask for, is that you've found something that, even if it's just for now, is a passion that you've enjoyed. And obviously flying is something that you're going to have till the very end. It's the same with me. And skydiving as well. Once a skydiver, always a skydiver, I say. If you make it through your course and you make it through your first scary experience, you're a skydiver for life. It's just kind of one of those things.
Yeah.
Dude, an absolute pleasure having you back in the can.
Thanks, brother.
Shooting the shit after all the times we've flown around the Caribbean and all over the place. It's been fantastic.
I don't know how long we've been talking, but I feel like we could just keep on talking.
Oh,
for
we could.
hours. It's crazy. So
We could. People could turn this pod. Well, they could actually set it down while running, go to sleep, have a full night's sleep, wake up, and we would still be going.
it's not like we haven't had that complaint when flying together either.
Yeah. But that's actually, I kind of go out of my way for that.
Yeah, plenty of people on the ground are
Sorry,
entertained, but also
Sorry,
sad
Manifest.
when they
Sorry,
see
Ground.
the two of us on the schedule together. So.
Oops, sorry, guys.
Yeah.
Well, once again, guys, this was another fantastic edition of the Lunatic Fringe. I've had in the can Mr. Erik Von Kennel /Volcano/Papa Bear, who has had some amazing experiences.
/insomniac.
Right? And taken definitely a different route than me, but ended up in the same place, and it's been pretty cool.
God.
Now, for those of you that want to find out a little bit more, you can go to Blue Skies Magazine. Blue Skies Magazine is who I've been writing for a very long time. BlueSkiesMagazine.com is a great place to go. Subscribe to the magazine. You can get previously published issues. You can get all kinds of really cool swag. You can find me on Facebook at theeffingpilot.com. It's the fucking pilot, but go figure. Facebook doesn't like you say fucking too much. So EFFINpilot.com. I am the Princess Pilot on Instagram because fuck them. They're the same goddamn way. I can't say that shit. So it's the princesspilot.com. And thankfully, thefuckingpilot.net. Yes, thefuckingpilot.net, where you can find this platform, whether it be iTunes, CastBox, Podbean, or any others, to download this or all the other awesome podcasts that I've had.
Man, you're a busy guy.
Yeah, man, busy guy. So again, thank you so much for joining. This has been yet another edition of the Lunatic Fringe Into the Void with the fucking pilot.
See ya.
We'll see you.